Well, we're talking about gateway drugs, Chris. We'll talk a bit about this.
Yeah, they're two similar topics.
On non-alcoholic beverages. Incredible stuff, really. It does suggest, as you put it in a recent piece, that they're just running out of things to ban at this point.
I hope so.
But no, the government is particularly interested in cracking down on low or no alcohol, beer in particular, but booze in general, I'm sure, because of fears that it's a gateway drug for young people to drink alcohol.
Yeah, very, very similar to the vapes, isn't it, in a way? But in this, also kind of almost the reverse of it. Firstly, I think Rishi Sunak, wherever he is kicking himself for not thinking of this, because this is kind of what you'd expect in the fourth term of a Sunak government, where he really is running out of things to ban. And we said several times in this podcast before, we're only 18 months into this government and we're already kind of on these back of a fag packet ideas that are like, well, let's ban something else, ban blood. It's mostly kids as well. As with Sunak, right? I mean, a lot of his bans were like, let's really get the kids.
More maths, less fun. Was this?
Yeah, exactly. Ban smartphones. Now the government is trying to ban social media for under 16s. Another stupid idea from Australia where we're not going to wait for the evidence even to find out how it's gone, because I think deep down they know it hasn't gone well. It's a funny one, this, in various ways, because you were talking just a moment ago, Mark, about how, kids drink, young teenagers do drink. And you said we don't ban certain drinks just because they particularly appeal to kids. Because in the 90s, before your time, obviously, but in the 90s, they had the Alcopop panic. And people were seriously talking about banning Alcopops because they genuinely were more attractive to teenagers than they were to adults. There was no two ways about it. And that's because kids generally when they're starting out drinking, they want something that tastes a bit like a soft drink, quite sweet and fruity, and it's got alcohol in it. Mm-hmm. And so there definitely was an uptake of the likes of WKD is about the only one that's really survived that era, but that kind of thing, right? And there's still, I think, there's 17, 18-year-olds, if not younger, maybe the prime demographic for drinks like that. But that's because, as I say, they tasted sweet and they had alcohol in them. Whereas non-alcoholic drinks don't taste sweet, bitter, obviously, beer. Kids don't like the taste of beer naturally, most of them. They've got to get over get over the taste in order to drink the alcohol, but that's just what you got to do if you're going to start drinking, right? And you got to acquire the taste for it, and which eventually you do, of course. And that's why non-alcoholic drinks exist for adults, because they've acquired the taste and they don't actually want the alcohol for whatever reason, but they still want to keep drinking the beer. But that doesn't work with kids, obviously, because you're giving them nothing of what they want. It's got no alcohol in it, and you're giving them a taste they don't want. So why wouldn't they just drink a Coke? And the reality is they do drink Cokes. Kids don't really drink non-alcoholic beer, regardless of whether they're allowed to buy the stuff or not. So it's a solution looking for a problem. There just isn't an issue with this. There's not that many kids drinking non-alcoholic beer. And even if they were, who cares? It doesn't matter. And they go, well, this might be a gateway. Well, gateway is the gateway is just a lie every time I've ever heard it used. It's just an excuse to ban something that you can't justify banning on its own terms. You had, cannabis, vapes, all this kind of stuff, none of which should be illegal, but they can't really make a good enough case. So they go, oh, well, if you start doing this, you'll end up doing heroin, which you probably won't.
It started with the non-alcoholic beer and then, ended with the skag.
Yeah, right. It's just, it just shows a complete naivety, misunderstanding of how human beings behave, for a start. It's also the other thing, as I said in this article for Spectator, was it's completely impractical. Because kind of like, how would you ban an Alcopop? What's the definition of an Alcopop? I think that's one of the reasons they didn't ban it, is because actually we're into a really sticky area here, because, well, how is cider not an Alcopop or something? But non-alcoholic drinks, I mean, they are literally soft drinks. The definition of a soft drink is it is non-alcoholic. And although some people go, well, some of them do have bits of alcohol in, a little bit of alcohol in it, a lot of them don't. Guinness Zero doesn't have any alcohol in it at all. And there's lots of other beers, non-alcoholic beers and spirits don't have any alcohol in them. So you can't even say, oh, we'll just make it less than 0.5. In addition, things like Coke actually do have a tiny bit of alcohol in them because sugar naturally ferments. We're talking trace amounts, but it's not zero. So I think it would be a massive legal quagmire. I don't think, as far as I know, any other country's done it. So it would just be another stupid thing to waste months and months of time on for absolutely no gain.
What do you make of all this, Mark?
I think it's a symptom of having a fiscally incontinent government who, because you don't have any actual money to spend on things without maybe having to make cuts elsewhere, they feel impotent. And so the thing that gets the headlines and the stories and makes them feel like they're doing something is just banning things. Because there is genuinely no call for this at all.
Yeah.
I mean, orange juice, I don't know if people know, has about 0.5 to 0.75% alcohol in.
Is it that much?
Yeah. So it's too diluted to actually be able to get drunk off it. Not that I've tried. But look, if a young person really wanted to have alcohol, and this is the type of thing I would do when I was younger, is you could take some orange juice, put some yeast in it, leave it to ferment in your bedroom. And then if you really want to go wild, make a small distillery.
Is that what you did when you were...
I actually
You just wait outside the off license to try and get someone to take pity.
I was 6'5" about the age of 14, so I never had any issues buying alcohol. And I remember we would not buy Alka-Pops because we'd get bullied by the locals in the pub. We'd be on the bitters. We wanted to look as old as possible. Yeah. But I mean, I was sort of pre-ID stage. There was a stage in my teenage years when everyone had to have like fake IDs, but I was before then. So if you looked old in those days, you were fine. But it was quite a good upbringing in the sense that I suppose I had more of a European upbringing whereby we drank wine at home, and we were able to go to a bar at 16 where we were legally buying alcohol. And it was some kind of law whereby if your parents were technically paying for it.
If you're having a meal. Best thing Tony Blair ever did.
Well, no, we didn't have to have a meal, I don't think. Not that I remember, but
might have been breakfast.
It was like the card was, money was put on by your parents. But the whole philosophy behind that was people in their teenage years are going to go out and have fun.
Yeah.
And isn't it better that they do it amongst some kind of supervision? I mean, I used to work in America, and I found it mad that these 18, 19, 20-year-olds, I was that age, they found it so hard to get hold of alcohol. When I went and hung out with them, it would just be in the parking lot smoking spliffs. So ironically, you end up pushing people to drugs, I think, because it's actually easier to go to a drug dealer who's not IDing you than it is to sneak into a pub like we all used to do and get a mild pint of bitter.
Oh, and they have that problem in the US as well, where by the time they end up at university, they're so unschooled in drinking that they end up, being very lame with how they drink, but also get themselves in a bit of trouble.
And they have to do games, don't they? And like shotgunning it. It's just like, just shut up and drink.
They've been infantilized. That's the problem. They haven't been allowed.
Yeah, they're too giddy about it. It's one of the worst things about America.
Exactly. Do you think this ban is actually going to happen, Chris? Or are they just like? I mean, even things that they want to do, they keep U-turning on.
Exactly, yeah. I don't think they'll do it. Because just on the practical side of it.
Yeah.
I think once they've read my article, they'll go, actually, we can't do this.
And also the clamour for it. Because at least vaping, there's a constituency for panics about this particular thing, particularly as it affects kids. There's, anecdotally, one sees young people out and about puffing on a vape or whatever.
Yeah.
Reports in schools of it becoming a big issue, but has anywhere suggested that the box of kids drinking non-alcoholic beer on the street?
No, because
it's a littering issue.
How could it possibly be a problem?
Yeah,
literally, how can it? Like the advertising standards, because this is one of the things. This is probably like the most semi-credible argument against these drinks you get from some of the public health nutters. Is what they call alibi marketing or surrogate marketing. Where, so like if you watch, I don't watch a rugby because it's awful, but if you do, apparently, like in France, they've got very strict advertising, alcohol advertising ban, and so they advertise as Heineken Zero.
Yeah. And
in Ireland, which also has quite a draconian ban, they advertise Guinness Zero, and all these people going like, oh, it's not fair, they're really advertising Heineken and Guinness. Which, up to a point, you can sort of see that. I mean, they're not. They are literally advertising the zero alcohol version. Yeah. So you would think if people are indeed easily manipulable, like public health folk think they are,
good point,
that would be what they rush out to buy. But you can sort of see that argument, except that doesn't affect us in the UK because we don't have any such. We don't have any real advertising restrictions on alcohol other than on content. And the Advertising Standards Authority has various guidelines and advice about it. And it all applies equally to non-alcoholic drinks, including that you must not encourage irresponsible or reckless consumption. But what does that even mean if you're drinking Brewdog Nanny State or whatever?
Yeah, just sheer volume, just drown yourself.
Everything's dangerous in large amount. No. Paracelsus.
I would be amazed if this actually happened, but we shall wait with bated breath.